Bruce Rivers, he's the criminal lawyer. Who is he? Bruce Rivers, he's the criminal lawyer. And who is he? Bruce Rivers, he's the criminal lawyer. And what he do? And it's gonna react to all the self-snitching.
Hi, this is Bruce Rivers. Welcome to another episode of Criminal Lawyer Reacts. I'm Bruce Rivers, board-certified criminal defense lawyer. And today, this episode is being brought to you by Helix. Remember what I said to you guys? I said I don't want to really, pitch a product or present anything unless it's a good deal for you. And this came to me personally. Helix sent me a flipping mattress. And I've had it for now about 60 days or thereabouts. So I wasn't going to do this unless I believed in the product. But I will tell you this, I have gotten the best night's sleep in the last 60 days. So we really want to thank Helix Mattresses for sponsoring this episode. Now, Helix makes premium mattresses for beds and shipped right to your door. So you don't even have to go to a store. So how do you order a Helix mattress? Well, everybody's different, and Helix knows that, okay? They made a sleep quiz to match you for whatever your body type is, and the sleep performance of the mattress to match what kind of body and what kind of comfort you like. They have something for everyone, everyone's unique taste, and if you sleep with your partner, you can even take the sleep quiz together to find something that is a perfect compromise for both of you based on my particular body style. Helix matched me with the Midnight Luxe, and I don't know about you, but sleep is probably one of the most important things that you can get. I mean, it impacts your performance the next day and the next week. So I personally sleep on my side, and I like kind of a medium to soft mattress. And what I like most about it is I just snuggle in and I'm out. I'm flipping out right now. So I love my Helix, and I think you would too. And remember what I said, I don't want to pass along these things unless they're good deals, right? So click on the link below. It's helixsleep.com/CLR. And they'll give you a $200 discount based upon you going through our channel. So, with that being said, here's what we're focusing on today. Today, this is going to be an Ask Me Anything. And we sort of put this out there for our fans to ask us anything. Now, let me just tell you something. I went down to Fort Lauderdale, and I did a TV show that's going to be airing in the fall. And as I left, some woman, probably in her 50s, grabbed me and said, "Bruce Rivers, I love your videos." When I went down to Fort Lauderdale, this guy comes at me, and I'm thinking he's an airport worker. He's got a vest on. He looks at me. He says, "Bruce Rivers," and I thought I was in trouble. And he says, "Love your videos." Here's the thing. I went to Chicago. I meet a couple guys in the street. We know who you are. I can't tell you the buzz and how we're blowing up, and I just can't tell you how much I appreciate it. I was walking by the river yesterday, and two high school kids are just fishing by the river. And hey man, are you that Bruce? You are. And I was laughing my ass off. It's just kind of fun because we're creating a community here, and my goal in doing this is twofold. One, it's a project with my son. Michael's our executive producer. He knows what he's doing, and I basically work for him, okay? And it's a father-son project, so there's a labor of love there. But here's the other thing. This is a platform where we can inform people about the law and different cases, and, we started out doing reactions to drill. We'll get back to that. But today we're responding to you guys specifically. So let's get into this. So, Try Hard Finessed You, whoever that is. Are there any cases or clients that really have stuck with you throughout your career? Maybe the case or your client taught you a valuable lesson for lawyering. Well, I've been doing this almost 25 years, okay? And I'll give you two. One was, and this is a funny story. I had a client a female, who was charged with murder in the first degree. She was accused of going into her boyfriend's house. She goes inside. It's New Year's Eve. They create a ruckus, and he kicks her out. And when he kicks her out, her other drug dealer boyfriend is waiting outside and goes up and is going to intervene, and he shoots the boyfriend. The client didn't shoot anybody. So we're doing jury selection. And when you do jury selection, especially on a case like this, you do a questionnaire. And so you get to know a little bit about the jurors ahead of time. So this one guy, we know he's going to be a pain in the ass because he took It took like a couple hours to finish the questionnaire, and everybody else took like a half hour, 40 minutes, something like that. He wrote in there that he had a restraining order against him because the president of his unicycling club would not return his affections. Okay, so you know you're dealing with somebody who doesn't have all their oars in the water. Secondly, he had a PhD in computer science, and he was complaining about the order of the questions. Not the questions themselves, but the order. So the judge looks at, and this was a prosecutor that I've had, several cases with, 3-0, two homicides and a crimp sex. And the judge looks at him, and he spells his name Fuchs. And he says, she says, Mr. Fuchs? And he looks at her square in the eye and says, Fox. And she says, Fuchs, Fox, Fox, Fuchs, Fuchs, Fox. And they're going back and forth. And we're fucking dying laughing. I had to go like this. Yeah, I got something in my contact. I'm going to have to go out. I had to go in the hallway and to compose myself because we were laughing so hard. But at the end of the day, the judge gave me a judgment of acquittal because it just was not what the prosecutors thought it was. And so, when you're handling a case, you never know where your moment of laughter, you can't lose your sense of humor during trial, and you never know where the next phase of something is going to come from. So, let's see. As a retired certified, this is Dr. Octagon. Oh, I love these questions. This should be good. As a retired certified forensic interrogator, I have faced countless cross-examinations by defense lawyers that have run from the impressive to the comically inept. How much prep study do you do, or the average lawyer, have to complete in order to properly interview an interrogation procedure during the bar exam or continued education? So there really isn't any practice that we do. In fact, the National Association of Criminal Defense Lawyers has all kinds of, you can get form questions. And after 25 years, it's really the prep that you do in knowing the material, because there's no substitute for preparation. Zero. So when I'm cross-examining an expert, I know exactly what I'm going to say, and I know exactly the response they're going to give me. And if they don't give me the response, I know how to get it. I remember one time, one of my very first trials was a blind stalker, and that was my opening. Now I'm seeing everything. They're charging blind people with stalking, and so, but it was on the telephone. And one of the elements was fear. And I noticed throughout the interviews, and did she ever tell you, talking to the investigator now for the state, did she ever tell you that she was in fear for her life? No. In fact, she told you she was more irritated than afraid, right? And so you get the answers from the other witnesses. And sometimes the best and most effective thing is when you use their own words against them, because you get reports from experts and from investigators. So that's an excellent question. So how about Carolyn Williams? Please do a show and tell about your stunning cufflinks. Any stories, significant ones, any good luck ones. They always catch my eye. Thanks from Australia. All right, that's fair enough. First of all, I don't have any shirts that don't have French cuffs. I don't know why. I love French cuffs. And I think that you can really, it's another way to kind of express yourself, show your style, and so I have several different ones. Like for the wintertime, I have ski cufflinks because I race downhill. I've got, in the summertime, I've got motorcycle ones. These are Elvis, 29-cent stamp Elvis. So I've got, what do I have? I've got some shark ones that are white gold, and none of them are super crazy out there, but it is a way for me to kind of display my personality. I got some anchor ones because I like to boat, that kind of thing. All right, do a couple more. Jennifer Lizzo. Have you declined representing some clients, and if so, why? Of the clients that you have that you do represent, how often do the cases go to trial versus charges being dropped or the plea taken? If you were not a criminal defense lawyer, what other job would you pursue? Excellent question. It's a three-parter. So let's start with the first one. Have you declined to represent? Yes, of course I've declined to represent people. Sometimes you have a conflict. But I don't decline to represent somebody because of the nature of the case, generally speaking. If I know somebody killed somebody, do I give a shit? No, not really. Because that's not my job. My job isn't to put them in prison. My job is to get them out of prison, to defend people. And I do a lot of murder cases. How many cases go, well, on that declining representation? Sometimes I'll decline if the client is super controlling or a pain in the ass. Because if the representation is going to go south right away, and you kind of know it, you'll quote a fee that's too high, or you'll just say, I'm just not available right now. And you do that because you don't want to represent somebody that is going to control you, because you're the lawyer. They've never tried a case before, but a lot of times people, especially like the wife beaters, they think I don't like those kinds of cases because they're super controlling. Nothing's ever their fault, and you can't control them or tell them what to do or how to do it. Let's see here. Of the clients that you do represent, how often do cases go to trial? Well, right now it seems like they're going to trial a lot, because on Monday I have a trial in a bad home invasion case. The following Monday I have a murder case. And the following Monday after that I have a crim sex case. So it seems like but most cases settle. The higher level felony ones, where the stakes are really high, almost never settle. And the reason they don't settle is because your client doesn't want to go to prison. And of those, I probably win about 70% of them. Let's see. If you were not a criminal defense lawyer, what other job would you pursue? That has changed over the life. Besides being a YouTuber, I don't consider myself a YouTuber. I consider myself a criminal defense lawyer first and foremost. But I thought about this a lot. Years ago, I would have thought I would have been a teacher, because I really like, I did teach law school. I do like children, and so I thought maybe high school or something like that, or a coach. But now I think I'd want to be something that has to do with boats, because I just absolutely love boating and navigating. All right, we'll do two more of these. Sharad, I'm going to butcher your name, Sharad. I really apologize. Sharad Vimalanathan. I'm sure I butchered your name there. Sorry about that. Hi, greetings from sunny Malaysia. Professional ethics among those in your industry has always intrigued me. If you and or your team receive key information that could either sink your client or exonerate the opposition, would you be legally obligated to share it with opposing counsel? Yes. Unfortunately, if I come across information that is detrimental to my client, I have a duty to disclose it. I just do. Unless it's like, if the client tells me something, I don't have any duty to disclose that. That's protected by privilege. But anything that's not protected by privilege, that's relevant, and if, like, for example, if you had the murder weapon, you would have to turn that over. If you remember in the OJ case, Robert Shapiro had we don't know if it was a murder weapon or not, but it was in an envelope, and it was all mysterious, and they turned it over. You don't have to tell them what it is. You don't have to give them a full-length description of why it's important, but you definitely have an ethical obligation to disclose. But it goes for the state, too. The state has to give information that's favorable to the defense all the time. If they don't, it's called a Brady violation. Maryland versus Brady. So, what did I say? Two more? Let's do two more. Control Oz. Could Elaine face consequences for what seems to be defamation of the jury? Is there usually a gentleman's agreement to not accuse the jury of breaking their oath? That seems to have been disregarded, or in this case. Or is it part of the actual ethics code? Sorry for any mistake I made. English isn't my first language. Well, Control Oz, that's a very good question. Because, first of all, I think it's bullshit to do that anyway. Because what did the jury sit for? Like fucking 6 weeks? 6 weeks. You know, or more. And what are they getting paid? Maybe $15 a day? You know, they're not getting paid much. And their lives are completely disrupted. So you getting on national TV and and saying that they're engaged in social media when she's got absolutely zero evidence of that is so disrespectful to the jury. You didn't hear the DEP team do that, and obviously because they're the winning side, they're going to say we love the verdict. But notwithstanding that, it doesn't matter. I've lost cases, and when you lose a case, you shut the fuck up, and that's what she should have done. Maybe she wanted her 15 minutes of fame, but it did her no good. There's a rule about juries. You're not supposed to do anything to a jury that's going to either influence future jury service or call into question what they did directly. So one of the things I like to do after a trial is talk to jury members. Sometimes they will talk to you, sometimes they won't. Especially if it's a very sensitive case. They generally don't like to talk to defense lawyers. But it gives you a window into what they were thinking. And when you get a window into what they're thinking, you are able to look at yourself and say, what did I do wrong? What did I do right? And try to adjust for the next trial. Because you're always trying to get better. Always have to try to get better. But I would never badmouth a jury like this unless I absolutely knew for certain that there was jury misconduct and I could prove it. Then I would file a motion. But I wouldn't go to the Eyewitness News and say, oh, by the way, look at me, aren't I fantastic? Yeah, oh, by the way, that juror is a piece of shit. You just can't do that. I mean, and I think there's no ethical thing I think that she violated by doing that. But, yeah, so that's that. So, okay, last one, Sudi. Have you defended individuals who you are fairly sure they have committed the violent acts that they are accused of? Example, murder, rape, etc., and successfully gotten them off of the charges? And if so, how do you reconcile with yourself the knowledge that you have been able to assist them in avoiding repercussions for their actions? I quit studying law because I didn't think I'd be able to compartmentalize my emotions and not be affected by things like this. I'd love to hear your take on it and how you handle it. So here's the thing. This is actually probably one of the most asked questions I get. If you know your client did it, how do you reconcile that? Well, sometimes your client, in fact, a lot of times, the best cases are the ones where there's no question what happened. It's just, what does it mean legally? Okay? Give you an example. My client was sitting at the end of a bar, and these guys come in from the local college, small town, and my client had smoked a little weed, and he was sitting there, saw a buddy of his that he hadn't seen in a long time, and so they're sitting there, and these guys proceed to get drunk, the other guys from the college, and there's one guy starts using the N-word and starts calling the Commodore, it's a VFW, calling the Commodore this and that, and he was also an instructor, and he just thought he was being bullied. So he's like, okay, you're out of here. So he asked my client and his buddy to escort this guy out of there. So my client's buddy grabs him from behind, and my client grabs his hands, and they're walking him out the door. It's all on video. He wriggles free, goes to punch my client in the face, and my client pushes him back. He falls. 5 days later, he's dead. Hits his head, and he's dead. No question what happened. Prosecutor filed second-degree intentional murder charges, which were absolutely unbelievable and ridiculous. And so I knew he did it, but it wasn't murder. Now, what about somebody who really did something, and it's not an issue of law. It's a matter of whether you can have him skate the charge, him or her. Well, that's a different question. And the role that I play as a criminal defense lawyer is to help people in tough situations, right? The role that a prosecutor plays is to put people in prison. The burden is on the prosecutor to put them in prison, period. And if the prosecutor can't do that, I don't care what the case is, they shouldn't go to prison. Thomas Jefferson said, better to let 10 guilty go free than imprison one innocent person. That's an old ism that people in the law game are very familiar with. So it's not my job to help the prosecutor convict somebody, but our process, our constitutional process, does not work unless we have the yin and the yang. So I don't feel. I'll tell you when I do feel bad. I do feel bad if somebody. I'll give you an example. I had a client that was acquitted of murder too, and I thought he should be acquitted. This is where I feel bad. And then he goes out and commits more crimes. And I don't feel bad from the standpoint there's additional victims out there, because in that particular case there was an additional victim. It was he gets out of jail after spending like 17 months in jail waiting for his trial, and he calls me up after an acquittal, and he was looking at 25 years plus, and he says, "What's the penalty for counterfeiting?" I'm like, dude, I mean, you want your work to mean something. You want somebody who gets a second chance to embrace it. So when they don't embrace it, and all of a sudden I don't like repeat customers. I have a few, but I don't like them because they make it very difficult to defend. I like somebody who later on, 5 years down the road, says, "Oh my God, you changed my life." That's what I love. I just, that the guy at the VFW that I was telling you about, he was able, because of what we did in that case, he kept his job, he kept his home, he continued to be a father to his children, and he thanks me all the time. And there's no greater reward as a criminal defense lawyer than that. So I hope I answered your question, Miss Sudi, and we'll see you next time here on Criminal Lawyer Reacts. I really do appreciate I try to read all the comments, and there's so many of them, and they're very heartfelt. And if I don't answer yours, just send it again, and I'll try to look at it. Most of them I see on Instagram, so make sure you follow us on Instagram, follow us on Twitter, subscribe, like, and stop the self-snitching. We'll see you next time here on Criminal Lawyer Reacts.